I'd like to call the Leominster Planning Board meeting on September 19, 2022, 6:30 to order. I have a scheduled public hearing, open public meetings. Continued public hearing for the definitive subdivision for Pierce Street, map 575, parcel 1. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nicholas Haley Ward. The applicants are also here this evening. This is Sabal and Mr. O'Donnell. At the last meeting, the one item outstanding that was talked about and kind of left as homework at the last meeting was to have a conversation with the abutting property owner, Mr. Craig Lascotti. I know he had concerns about proximity to the subdivision and I guess contention about a piece of property, about who owns it. And so the applicant did have a conversation with Mr. Lascotti. They talked about the piece of property that he thinks he owns and that the applicant owns, that is part of the subdivision, but is not part of what's being developed. They talked about purchasing the property, and they said, well, we already own the property, and we're gonna leave it as that. Offered him that if he wants the property, they're more than welcome to pay back taxes on the property, basically. I think that's how the conversation went. So, or back taxes that have been paid on the property. And so that's really where the conversation went. The conversation was left at that, and that was the end of the conversation. Obviously, the applicant contends that they own the property. The assessor's office has it, that they own the property, and they have a deed for the property. But as I stated, the part of the project, the property is not being included as anything that's being developed. We kind of stayed away from that piece of property because we knew there was going to be some conversation there between the two property owners, so we didn't want to even touch it if we had to. So that's part of the open space, proposed open space as part of the project. And so that was the one item that was left at the last meeting. I'm not sure if the board members have any questions in regards to that or anything else.
I'll just add to that. I checked the assessor's paperwork for the city map, and it shows the property is all owned by the developer for this development. Okay.
And there's been no further communication from Mr. Lascotti?
I reached out today to make sure that.
I have talked to Mr. Lascotti, and I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Okay. Did we go through all of the waivers?
I don't believe we
I
did.
don't believe we did.
I made a copy of all of them if you guys
Okay,
want
please.
another one. Yeah. Well,
Wes, do you want to read it and go through them?
Can I do that? Sure. So I issued a letter on August 22nd, just outlining all the updated waivers that we were asking for. And so the first waiver is from section 8 of the subdivision rules and regulations, requiring a development impact statement. And so our request is that we don't have to prepare one due to the size of the small size of the development, and that through the planning board review process, all the department process reviews, and then conservation commission review, we feel that for this size of a project, this is it's not necessary for this type of project. The second waiver is the scale of the plan. And so on the land plan, we show the plan at a scale of 1 inch equals 60 feet. So we can show the entire subdivision on one piece of paper instead of multiple sheets. Makes it easier to show the entire development that way. And we're still able to meet all the registry standards with regards to all the text that needs to be added to the plan for the recorded plan. And so the plan's not too busy, but we're also able to get everything onto that one page. The next waiver is finished invert elevations for storm drains and sanitary sewers at 50-foot intervals. And so we're not showing the invert elevations at every 50 feet. The way they construct sewer and drain now, they don't need that information. They have all the laser equipment now. That's when they lay out the utilities in the street, under the street. They don't need the intervals every 50 feet. So that was a requirement.
Did we get an answer? Did the DPW comment on that?
I have the DPW comments right here.
I don't remember them saying anything, but I have their they did not make a comment about that one.
Okay,
And that's
Oh,
a,
we do have a letter.
go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if this was forwarded to you or not. It's from John Roseberry on September 7th. It says, "Hi Elizabeth, the applicant of the Pierce Street subdivision has submitted a revised plan. Here are the responses to the revisions. Provide concrete bounds at all easement corners, done. A deep hole needs to be performed in the area of the proposed detention basin to be performed upon the commencement of construction. The proposed sewer, force main, and manhole should be run in the shoulder of Pierce Street, done. Show proposed street trees outside of the ROW, done. Provide profile of stormwater pipes to the detention basin, done. Provide sewer system details, done. Provide road, subdrain, and areas of cut. Provide subdrain detail and note on the site plan where the subdrain is to be placed. Provide access maintenance road to the detention basin, done. The lot 5 water service should be on the supply side of the hydrant, done. A homeowners association needs to be set up for the sewer system and maintenance of the detention basin. Documentation should be provided to the planning board upon or shortly thereafter the approval of the subdivision. John Roseberry.
Very good. Thank you. That's been taken care of.
okay, the next waiver request was the Cul-De-Sac Plantings. I know the subdivision rules and regulations still require the landscape island in the middle of the cul-de-sac. The DPW does not like those, so we don't show those on there.
Just
The next,
just paved circle.
all paved, yes, yeah. And I know the DPW, for maintenance purposes, they like that better. Next waiver is the dead end street length being 500 feet, unless, in the opinion of the board, a greater length is necessitated by the topography or local conditions. And so, due to the size and shape of the property, we do show the length of the roadway to be in excess of 500 feet, and actually we're probably around 1,200 feet currently. The next waiver is the traveled way being 34 feet, proposed is 28 feet, which is standard what the board has allowed now in the past. I know the DPW likes to have the roads have shrunk down a little bit from the 34 feet wide, especially for something of this size. And the last one has to do with an open space buffer of 20 feet from all adjacent properties to the subdivision. The area should be planted with suitable shrubs to create a visual and sound barrier between the subdivision and surrounding areas. And so we show the 20-foot buffer. We're not looking to clear that 20-foot buffer. Well, where that 20-foot buffer is so far away from the project, we're not looking to put shrubs in that area, especially for a good portion of it's in the open space. There's actually, I want to say more than 100 feet, probably 200 feet of buffer that's going to be left in the open space. So we're not asking for a waiver from the actual 20-foot buffer. We're just asking for not having to put shrubs in that 20-foot buffer. Because we want to leave it all natural.
That's good.
And that's the last waiver.
I'm trying to recall, you had a memo dated August 22nd, 2022 with all the comments for the responses from the previous department head
Correct.
comments, and you went through that.
I think you would have.
I have it here if you wanna.
Yeah, we can go.
We did a list.
Yeah, why don't you go through them?
And so, the first items with regards to the planning department. So the first item is the GIS, which we just talked about, asking for a waiver in the GIS. The next item had to do with plan notes or plan details. One being the scale of the plan, which we're asking for a waiver. Second being the proposed name of the street. We have no problem, obviously, working with the city to make sure that is a veteran name, if that needs to be a condition of approval. The next item is to make sure that we have 8 lines on the Mylar for recording for all the board members to sign, which we will have on the Mylar that gets endorsed by the board. The next one has to do with a note on the plan stating that the owner does not own adjacent land or across the street from the definitive, and so we did add that note to the plan. The next items have to do with the results of percolation tests that are required by the Board of Health. This project is serviced by municipal water and sewer, so we aren't showing any testing on the lots. The other item had to do with the finished invert elevations, which we already talked about for granting, getting a waiver for that. Next item on the list is percolations and soil evaluations for the detention basin, which we're asking for a condition that gets done before the commencement of construction. And so we will work with the DPW also so they can witness that if they want to. Next section has to do with items required by the post office. And so we do show a pull-off area in a centralized mailbox location. We did have the post office review that, and there was an email, I believe, from the post office that was sent to the planning office.
I believe you read that at the last meeting.
Yeah, I think we were a couple meetings ago, maybe now. Next one has to do with stormwater management, that it has to be evaluated with DPW, which it has been. The subdivision needs to add, the plan needs to add a note stating that the plan is the maximum build-out of the property, which that note has been added to sheet number 1 of the plans. Next item had to do with make sure the sidewalks are shown on the plans. There are sidewalks shown on the southerly side of the street. Next one is street trees. We do show locations of the street trees and call out the size of the trees on the details on sheet 18. And I know before we talked about having the trees being a mixture of different maple trees to be consistent with what's been done in the city in the past. Next one is the cul-de-sac planting area, which we already talked about getting a waiver. Then we looked at the comment about streetlights. We do show the streetlights. The streetlights are added to the plan adjacent to the hydrants, so that we do have street lighting. I think it's spaced around 400 feet, similar to what the hydrant spacing is, so at least we can see the hydrants too.
Is that a standard distance?
500 feet is the
Okay.
minimum distance, maximum distance for spacing of hydrants, but because of the length of the road, we went for 400 because it's 400 feet. So.
Okay.
Police and fire DPW shall evaluate the street configuration, and so all the departments that had a chance to review that. Street length is no longer than 500 feet unless a waiver is granted. Roadways should be constructed in the full length and width. Make sure the center line is of the roadway pavement is in the center line of the right-of-way, which it is. Subdivision containing 12 or more lots shall have at least 2 entrances, and so we only have 12 new lots running off of this. We will be back in front of the board for the 13th lot that will have adequate frontage off of Pier Street. And so once we get through this process with the planning board, we do have the A&R plan already prepared for the 13th lot. And so when we get to that point, we'll bring that plan in for endorsement from the planning board. The travel way width is the next comment, making sure that, we're asking for the waiver for that. Talk about the sidewalks and the grass strip required between the sidewalk and the roadway, which we do show. Comment to make sure that we have the 20-foot buffer around all the adjacent properties, again, which we talked about, and we're asking for that waiver that we don't have to plant shrubs within that, because we do have even more than 20 feet of open space buffer. The last item for the planning department was the open space covenant. We'll be required and make sure that the planning board has a chance to review that open space covenant, and so we have no issue with that. The planning board will see that document once we get to the point of deeding that into the open space.
Okay.
The next comments that came was from the fire department. We sent over the information that the fire department was looking for, and they sent back another email August 15th stating that they were comfortable with our updates to the plans to make sure that we showed them exactly what the radius of the cul-de-sac was and all the radii around the turning, around the entrances and so forth were. And so they were comfortable with that, and also with the spacing of the hydrants. We added a hydrant after having a conversation with them. We added 1 hydrant to the plan. The next item had to do with the police department, which I know there's a lot of discussion about. And so we went back and forth with Sergeant Robichard from the police department. Had a couple of different conversations with him, and we came back with and I think it'd probably be a condition of approval. This is probably, I think, the best way to handle it is the police department asked for 2 dangerous curve ahead signs to be placed at their location that they will tell us to put them on, and then also 1 solar powered radar speed limit sign to the south of the project as you're coming in from the Lunenburg side. They did their own traffic study out there, monitored the speeds of the cars passing by the site, and that's where they saw a lot more of the higher speed traffic coming in from the Lunenburg end. So they want to put that sign up there. I know one of the butters made a comment in regards to that, and so once it reaches 30 miles an hour, it's just gonna say slow down. If they exceed that, they don't want it to be showing 55 miles an hour, somebody's going 55 miles an hour, the abutter doesn't want it to make a contest. So the sign will say slow down if they're exceeding the speed limit. And then, there's gonna be some clearing done on the corner of Pier Street, within the layout of Pier Street, when they put the sewer in down the shoulder, but it's also gonna help improve the sight distance. And so once that work is done, we're gonna go out there and shoot the sight distance again and have Sergeant Robertraud come out and witness that. He actually wants to see how it's done too. He's new to the traffic committee within the city, so he wants to kind of get a hands-on look at how that's done too. So, and so we have no problem with those being conditions of approval. The applicant's agreeable to do that and work with the police department to put that signage up there and take care of the sight distance coming out of the property. The DPW comments, Stephanie just read in the email from Mr. Roseberry, and so the couple items I think just need to be conditions of approval, being the testing in the detention basin, the homeowners association, and then we don't have an issue putting subdrains in where they're needed within the street, and so wherever we find groundwater when they start doing the road reconstruction, they will put subdrains in, and so if those three items need to be conditions of approval, we don't have an issue with those three items being conditions of approval. The next item on there is the Conservation Commission. We have approval from the Conservation Commission. They issued order conditions for the project. We went and walked back and forth with them for a couple meetings. We do show a small area of wetland filling up near the entrance. There was a new section of wetlands that was flagged up there, and so we do show about a little less than 600 square feet of wetland filling in there, and they were agreeable to that. They didn't really see the wetlands up there to be really a substantial wetland. They'd rather have the replication area further down near the basin where it's wetter near the swamp. They think that wetland would be better served for the wildlife in that section. Where this finger of wetland that comes up near the street it was actually really dry this summer. It was kind of, it was borderline wetland.
There's not too many wetlands in them.
Well, and then the last thing was the Board of Health, and so all the Board of Health issues, we addressed on the plans, showing the erosion control barriers, the erosion control blankets, the notes with regards to the sewer and water crossings, and then obviously we took care of the Conservation Commission. Some of their items got crossed over with the Conservation Commission, and so by taking care of the Conservation Commission, we took care of some of their items too. So, and those are the last items that I have on my letter.
Okay. Sounds good. Do you have anything else you wish to add? Any other
Nope, that's it.
comments? Okay. Open it to the audience. Do I have any questions or comments from the audience? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Glenn Shepherd. I'm the, one of the abutters. Two things, and some of these I know you guys have already addressed. Is the subdivision containing 12 or more, or is it 12?
It's 12.
Supposed to have 12.
It's 12.
Anything 12 or more is supposed to have 2 accesses and egresses to a street.
That's correct.
So the last time I looked at that, it had 13, but.
Well, the 13th one is not in the subdivision. The frontage.
12 or more.
12 or more.
More than 12. It's more than 12. More than 12 needs.
That's one of the waivers that we have in front of us.
No, we are not.
But when they're not using it because they're doing it in R.
More
They're
than
doing
12
it
lots.
More than 12 lots. More than 12 or more than 12.
The rule that I read said subdivisions containing 12 or more lots are 9, unless that's been changed and I didn't have the update.
It's in my notes.
I don't have the regulations in front of me, so.
If it was it has 12, I have the book here too. I can pull the book out. Let's pull the book out.
Yeah. It's more than 12.
And, you know,
It's 9R.
I'm for people being able to do whatever they want with their
9 or
hands, as
9.
long as it, you know, we get it all, called the rules. My biggest concern over there is our drainage in that corner is already not good. I know that they'll be making maybe they're making some cuts in the road. I haven't seen how they're doing it. But I don't know if there's any way to coordinate with the city and get the drainage so when it comes racing down Jocelyn, doesn't come sheet draining across my field or in that corner.
Yeah, Yeah, I know, you brought that up, I know before, and we looked at that too. The problem is the way Pier Street is sloped. It's not cross slopes, so I know you get a lot more water into your corner. That's why we looked at that without the city doing something with Pier Street.
So I don't know how you do any road cuts, but that was just one of
So the
them.
new road drops off from Pier Street
So
into this
it
side.
goes,
So it goes away from,
where is your sewer on the west side of the Pier Street, or is it coming
the
down?
sewer's gonna be on the opposite side, and so
It does say, did you want me to quote from the book?
Go ahead.
It's, 9 R12A, or 9. It says subdivisions containing 12 or more lots shall have at least 2 non-contiguous street connections with a street or streets, either existing or shown on an approved subdivision plan for which a performance guarantee has been filed. So it's 12 or more.
Overall,
Yeah.
it needs a waiver.
yeah, that's for the way.
And my last thing, and this is, let's say good fences make good neighbors. I don't know when the last time any of those lots were surveyed. I know it wasn't in my lifetime. I'm quite sure it wasn't when my grandfather bought it in the 30s. If we could pin the corners of, at least where it butts up against my stuff, so I can stay on my side, and everybody can stay on their half too. So I know there's already stuff out there, I don't know where, if they're using,
So you're looking for boundary markers?
yeah, just, tell me where they are, I'll drive a stake in there, but I just wanna, it helps when everybody knows where the line is. So that would be my, one thing. It's been decades, maybe millennium, since any surveys go on, but knowing where your line is better than terrorizing up somebody for doing this stuff over there.
So one of your corners, there is a pin on one of the corners, front corner along Pier Street. There is a pin.
Is it the copper pipe?
It's an iron pipe, yeah. Yep. And so I know the back, so it would be the two corners of the back that would have to be pinned.
So,
And the rest is
I know
open
there's
space.
some orange markers out there, but I asked one of the surveyors, is that the corner, is that your working thing? And he said, it's working, so.
Yes,
and
yeah, it's
so-
just a flag, so we know the limits of where it's at, yes.
So there are pins there?
There's one pin at the front corner, do you have an issue with them? You only need 2 more pins, so it's up to you. There's a pin in the front corner, there's just 2 pins that need to be set, at least in the part that abuts the fence.
Okay.
Is the stone wall the boundary too?
There isn't one in this location though. Yeah.
Stone wall in the front. So as I'm, I always got this goes here. The stone wall is the end or approximately the end where the frontage is, and then this is where it gets more difficult. It shoots up there and past the old equipment shed into the corner, and that kind of was my bearing says I get in the woods there, but I know this. So if we could figure out where those are, that would work out.
Have you seen the subdivision plan? Because none of the building is gonna go up near where you're concerned.
Yeah, it was just more, I know that the first 3 lots, from what I've seen, is the small one, but the first 3 lots kind of butt up against the front,
Right.
my front lawn, but after that, it just feels into
Are you on the right of the property?
as you look, yeah, to the east, on the right.
Okay,
Yeah, he's here.
okay.
And so that's the closest one, and so there is a pin here. We're looking at those 2 there. This is all open space in the back.
That's all open space back there. Okay. Yeah, that was
So there's the pin.
Yeah,
Hold it up so that the, camera can.
So we can set those in.
okay.
And I know we did a fair amount of survey work up there, because that's what we wanted to make sure, because he's correct, it hasn't been a lot of survey work that's been done up there. So for us to feel comfortable enough to say those are the property lines.
We just had fun out there, that's heavily wooded.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay. Do I have- do I have any other questions or comments? do I have any questions?
A question and a comment, but so are you gonna ask for a waiver for the
We're gonna have to, yes,
second
yeah,
entrance?
Yeah.
And could you talk about the need for, why there isn't a need for two entrances to follow the zoning?
So for us to, well, I guess when we started this process, we were at 13 lots from even the beginning, because that was kind of the number that we agreed on with the
Yep.
board for the amount of open space that we were proposing. And even then, we were talking about doing the waiver. I know for some reason, I don't know if the wording had changed, but for some reason, we had in our head that it was 12, in more than 12 lots, we didn't need a waiver for. And so that's why I know when Elizabeth and I talked, we were talking about, we're gonna do one A and R lot and 12 lots on the subdivision and not have to ask for the waiver. But for the amount of roadway they're constructing, but also for the amount of open space that they're not using, you know, we feel it's a pretty fair trade. You know, 13 lots on whatever it is, 70-something acres, I think it's a pretty fair trade for what we're looking for. So.
And I guess I don't disagree with that necessarily. I guess my only concern is none of the department heads have had the opportunity to weigh on this request for a waiver, because we didn't put it before them. And I don't know how the police would feel about it, I don't know how the fire department would feel.
No, the length of the road doesn't change, it's just a number.
No, it's having a second entrance and
Well,
exit.
They already have, it's already a longer than 500-foot waiver for the dead end length. And that's really, when we talk to the fire department, the police department, and even the DPW, that's really the concern comes in, it's the length of the road. You know, we could throw in 30 houses on a 1,200-foot wide, long road, you know, but they've always already looked at 13 lots, and that's always been 13 lots under their review, it hasn't changed.
Yeah, I understand that, and I'm not gonna quibble with that, but I don't think that's the same concern as having a second entrance.
No, a second entrance would be totally different. Every drawing they've had has been one entrance.
Yeah, for the last
Okay,
year and a half, whatever.
Yeah.
So whether it's been 12 or more, it's been 13, it's been,
The number of lots hasn't changed, it's been 13 lots. From when we did the preliminary plan
But
to
a
this plan.
waiver, but a waiver was never requested.
A waiver wasn't requested, they did get my memo. I distribute my, review memos to all the departments. And my
yours
review
said-
memo says that for that section, 12 or more lots shall have at least 2 non-contiguous street connections of streets, it's in my memo.
Which then maybe.
And nobody
I think that they
responded.
would.
And I know that the topic came up, I know it's been discussed, because other abutters attended meetings and they were opposed to having 2 entrances because they didn't want it to become a
In other
shortcut
projects, yeah.
or
Even on this
additional
project.
traffic.
Yeah, because there was talk about the entrance going out to the woodlands of Massapog.
Massapog.
That way,
Or Wisconsin's development,
and that's where it is,
Cross.
yeah, so.
so was this just an oversight then?
Yeah, actually,
so they can request it, that's all right,
Yeah.
and I don't, you know, and we can act on it or not. Okay, and it becomes up to the vote.
I'm just pointing out that's not an issue that we've done.
Yeah,
correct?
that's fine.
Yeah, that's an issue. The other comment I wanna make, this has nothing to do with the plan, I don't have an issue with the requests, but 3 of these, the justification for the waiver was the DPW doesn't want us to follow the zoning ordinance because they don't like it that way. And I have no
Yeah.
problem with that, but if that's the case, maybe we should talk to the DPW and think about changing some of the zoning ordinances, because if they're gonna tell people not to follow our rules aren't worth very much.
Yeah.
And so, again, nothing to do with you or the plan, but I.
Side note,
But just
No, sorry,
something,
multiple ordinances,
something to
Something for me to work on.
the width of streets and.
Well, the width of streets is, we leave the width of the street because in the case of a large development, okay, let's say there is a potential of one, and we had it prior to this years ago off of Willard Street, Liggett Hill.
Liggett Hill, yeah.
And Liggett Hill is a collector road, there's a main road. The main road was 34, okay? And that was not waived, it took down to a smaller size. And then there were a number of smaller roads, we call those collector roads, off of that, or loop roads, because there was a total of
There were a lot of, yeah, there were a lot of roads.
260 or something like.
229 lots.
229?
229, yeah.
Okay, so a little over 200 at that point. So in that case, the main road was what we thought that the 34 would apply. So that's why the 34 is in there, okay? And it would stay, and then it's easier to waive it later on. Because to try to put it in with with the exceptions and all the rest of that, into the ordinance became too cumbersome. It's easier to waiver it. Okay,
Appreciate that.
little history on that.
We can discuss.
Okay, do we have anything else?
Motion to close hearing?
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded to close the hearing. I'll call for a roll call.
No roll call.
No, yeah, sorry, wait, yes. I'll call for a vote. Well, this is a, yeah, it should be a roll call.
Patrick
It's a
Perla,
subdivision. Just that it's easier.
Yeah.
Still do roll call.
Bo Weiser,
Are we voting on?
No, just to close the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, then,
Sal
yes,
Chaconi, excuse, Carol Vittorioso, excuse, Tom Kergnen,
Yes.
Jason Parre, Dean Valier,
Yes.
John Souza.
yes. Okay, hearing is closed.
Thank you.
We will deal with that later on in the meeting. Okay, 6:35, public information meeting with site plan application of 6-7 Central Street, map 582, parcel 18 and 19, trucking transportation building. The hearing is open, okay? But I have an issue, well, we have an issue, is that we had requested, information and, on this, from the applicant, primarily on the comments from the, various departments. We did not receive those in time. Okay, they should have been here. The deadline for this meeting was 9/5 to get paperwork in. We did not receive the comments until the 14th of September. So the comments that were received on the 14th, I cannot use because they did not make the deadline. So automatically on those comments, which are the comments to the DPW and all that, pretty much lets us know that we're gonna go forward. This will have to be continued to deal with those. So I'll just let you know that up front, because we have deadlines that we have to keep, because we have to get printing and get it out to people, and we have to get emails and all the rest of that stuff. So we have to adhere to those deadlines. I just wanna let you know up front, make your presentation, and then we will deal, this meeting will be continued. Okay, and then we will deal with the rest of it at that time.
Since you're gonna make him do the presentation again at the next meeting?
Probably.
So
No, he can,
do it a second?
no, he just has to do the presentation
At
now.
that point, I just want to get in front of the board, so if there's any comments or concerns from the board directly, I can get.
He can bring it to the board and he can add to this. If you need there any added comments, then he can add to
That's
this.
my main concern
Yeah,
right now.
let's do it.
Okay.
Should open the, special permit
So,
portion as well, right?
and at the same time, again, open the public hearing for the special permit application, 670 Central Street, map 582, parcel 18 and 19, trucking transportation building. Sir, you want this? I'll look at that board.
For the record, Chris Anderson, Hannigan Engineering, here on behalf of RJ Holdings LLC for the site plan approval and special permit for the construction of a new industrial building. The property is located at 670 Central Street. It's comprised of 2 lots. Historically, this property contained a single-family home with driveways and all that kind of stuff. At this point, that's been raised and the site is effectively vacant. The site is comprised of a combination of woodland and grass areas and such. The property is located within 2 zoning districts, the commercial district, which extends 300 feet off the right of way of the road, and then the remaining portion of the land is residential B district. Just to orientate ourselves here, we have Central Street right here. This would be the gas station, and the intersection with Litchfield Street is a little bit off the page here, just so we all see that.
Okay,
It's the intent to provide a single point of access into the property. It'll be located along the southerly portion of the property line. This will extend directly into the rear portion of the site. Will provide areas for paved parking along the immediate frontage of the site, with additional ADA compliant handicap spaces and additional spaces around the periphery of the building. This driveway will extend into a large area of regrind pavement to help reduce the overall scope of the impervious area on the site. And this will be primarily utilized for company vehicle storage and turnaround maneuvering area. So the intended use of the building is going to be a trucking transportation facility. This is not a junkyard or anything like that. The entire sole purpose of the trucking company is to transport vehicles from point A to point B without constantly being stored on site. They typically go to dealership or private auction, whatever it may be. So typically, vehicles are not stored on the property long term. Obviously, there's an exception to all the rules. If, for example, the company vehicles were running late from a service facility or something like that, the trucking may be stored on site temporarily over the nighttime hours. But it's the intent that all company vehicles stored on the site will be vacant of cars and just be utilized purely for storage of company vehicles. As for the utilities, we'll tap into the existing sewer and drainage infrastructure within Central Street. The site is unique where the old water line that serves the existing house actually ran out to Litchfield Street, so we'll terminate at both the main at Litchfield and at the property line, with the remaining line to remain intact because we can't go onto somebody else's property to remove the line. Surrounding the entire site, there will be a solid wall vinyl fence for privacy screening. We'll be providing additional evergreen plantings along the periphery of that as well. Some of the additional amenities is that will provide additional landscaping, beds, and treescape along the right of way to help shield the overall development from Central Street as well. And whatnot. With that being said, we're requesting a couple waivers. One being the waiver for our landscape architects. Due to the overall scope of the project, it's pretty minimal to provide something like that. In addition to that, we're requesting a waiver from providing a sidewalk from Central Street out to the proposed building, primarily because the intended use does not generate significant foot traffic. As part of the memo that I issued, which I won't touch, there's an additional use for motor vehicle repair, but these kinds of uses do not generate foot traffic because you're bringing cars in and out to be moved. That being said, I would like to make one more note. I should note that all the activities associated with the actual commercial use is located within the commercial district. The residential B work, or the work that's being performed within residential B is limited to a infiltration basin for stormwater management. It's a pretty innocuous use at that point and shouldn't be impactful to any of the neighbors. That being said, if there's any questions from the board, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
now you mentioned the pavement being regrind.
To a certain extent,
Regrind is a impervious surface.
it's a combination of impervious and pervious surface.
It's
That has-
only about 70% pervious.
Yes. And this
Okay,
is,
so it's considered for drainage, this is being pervious.
this is designed at a much, I know where you're going with this. In typical calculations, that number is down near the 70 or 80 mark. For this purposes, it's actually at the 90 mark, because I want to make sure that this infiltration basin doesn't get blown out in case of a large storm. But it's
So
designed,
what calculation did you use on the impervious surface?
the pavement's always at 98, that's required by regulation. The grinding's at 96, so it's slightly more impervious. Not much, but I'm considering it a lightly used impervious surface. Long and short, the infiltration basin is significantly designed to accommodate the site.
But it also doesn't, regrind doesn't give you any longevity.
No, that's why we're putting the regrind areas in areas that are not being heavily traveled on. So there'll be pavement from Central Street out to the handicap parking spaces. Well, I apologize, you can't really see it well in this, but on this plan, all of this will be impervious. The remaining will be that regrind. So the parking, the travel lanes, and everything like that will all be paved asphalt.
Okay. Your travel ways, what's your main, do you have a main travel way in there? How this parking lot's gonna be set up?
Yep, so you have the 24 typical driveway
Right.
entrance. Continues through here. This is a little bit wider. I believe I have it at around 35 feet. I'll get that number for you in the next meeting. But it's large enough to get a large pickup truck through this area.
Okay, but on the right-hand side, where you're gonna be parking cars, I'm gonna wanna see a parking plan for that. And we just,
This will not be utilized for parking.
It's the storage yard,
That's the
right?
storage area and turnaround area.
Behind
for the
it.
storage, you gotta have, show how you're gonna have storage and how many vehicles you're gonna have stored in there. You can't just have you're gonna go back to, you're gonna fill it solid. You gotta be able to get in and out, and you gotta have travel ways. That's what I say, you know, just like a regular parking lot.
I
Now,
see.
you can say you're gonna double up on an area, but I wanna see where they're doubled up.
So with that being said, employee customer parking is all in the front. That means zoning compliance. This area is more for turning around and storage of the company vehicles. So now we have about 250 feet of gravel over here so that a large truck or vehicle can easily turn around and get through here. The company only has a couple of trucks,
Well, where's your gravel, where's your, that's,
so this is pavement.
that's pavement, where's your impervious, your regrind?
Everything else.
Everything else,
Well, you just said that was gravel.
no, this is all pavement.
Above the red.
Above the red is
I
all.
realize that,
Below the red.
but above that, you're saying that's either gravel or regrind.
Yes,
Now, yes, it's either or,
it'll be regrind.
it'll be regrind.
Yes.
So regrind is only 97, you still gotta show drainage is off for regrind.
Yes, yes, and this system is designed to pitch towards the infiltration basin through a filter strip to provide the required treatment level prior to getting to the infiltration basin. So all the water that's being developed from the site itself,
So this is all a filter strip?
that's all of it. It's a 25-foot wide filter strip. So it's a salt intolerant grass, has a couple planting shrubs here and there. But all it's supposed to do is to collect the water and direct it into the infiltration basin. So this area is captured by your typical pipe and catch basin transmission. Gets treated and then discharged to an infiltration basin. The remaining portion of the site sheet flows over into the infiltration basin itself. This basin has a filter strip with a peat stone diaphragm along the outer edge to slow it down and to provide treatment of this sediment coming from this area. This basin is actually quite over-designed to the point where you almost have 1.5 foot of freeboard before it even discharges in the 100-year storm, just to put that into perspective. So this basin is significantly over-designed in order to capture all this runoff to get to the street.
Okay. And do you have a maintenance plan for that?
Yes. That was submitted with the DPW.
Do you have anything else you wish to add?
Will there be any vehicle repairs?
That is part of the comment that I issued the other day. But long and short, yes, there will be 3 bays dedicated to motor vehicle repair.
So is this, I thought it was just transportation.
It is, but after having the meeting with the mayor and all the department heads, the applicant decided they wanted to incorporate motor vehicle repair in the eventuality that they move forward with going through that process. So it's also requested that that use be included with the site plan approval. Granted, it's allowed by right in this district.
Good, okay. So that requires a license commission.
No. So the license commission only requires if you're selling or trading vehicles, which this is not. This is a straight motor vehicle repair. The license commission gets involved with dealerships. So if they were buying and selling cars on the property, that would require a license from the license commission.
Okay. Okay. We'll check on that. Do you have anything else you wish to add? Okay, I'll open it up to the audience. Is there anybody else in the audience who wish to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
About
Just please
Can you say your name?
identify yourself.
Your name,
my name is Indira.
Indira,
Gupta.
can you spell your last name?
B like boy, H-A-K King, T Tom, A-F.
Okay,
And that truck parking, are they going to run kind of, sometimes it makes so much noise. In the night time, that is all I want to know.
Oh.
That sometimes they have food storage or something that won't get bad or.
Good question.
The
Hours of
freezer-
operation?
what kind of hours
Asking
of
about
operation
hours of
do they have?
operation?
I didn't get it.
You're asking about hours of operation, when they'll be operating.
Right, it's just at night time,
Yeah.
if the truck won't keep on running kind of, and won't make noise,
Good question.
because then the customer, they complain.
Okay, is your property, you adjacent to this?
I have in the front, Leominster motoring.
Okay. Okay,
Across the street. Across the street.
across the street.
So this will be normal 9 to 5 business hours. So they come in early in the morning, the employees get into the trucks, they leave for the day, they don't come back till later in the afternoon.
The truck parked over there that won't keep on running.
Correct, so the only vehicles you will truly see along Central Street would just be employee or customer parking.
Okay. Have anyone else wishes to comment? Yes,
Councilor Claire Frida, Councilor at Large. With the level of volume that you expect during the day, cars in, cars out,
It should be pretty minimal. Like I said before, they only have a handful of trucks. They come and they go in the early morning hours and the afternoon hours. So in all, you'll probably have around 10 vehicle trips in the morning and 10 in the afternoon with vehicles coming in and out. So it's not a high intensity trucking use on site.
that whole intersection is horrendous as it is, cars coming in, coming out. You get cars turning right off of Litchfield Street at the light, you get cars coming out of the gas station at the same time. You get cars coming out across the street at the gas station. I mean, and that's a lot of volume in that whole area. I'd be concerned at the type of business for that location.
So with that being said through the chair, this is within Mass DOT jurisdiction. So we will be going in front of them for access permit because we're changing the use. So all the traffic patterns and everything like that are also going to be reviewed by Mass DOT because that's technically their road. I agree that this area is heavily congested, but that's a pre-existing condition. The overall use of the site is not high intensity as like a gas station or anything like that. So we're anticipating that the vehicle trips generated from this site are de minimis in the background of the overall area.
I'm generally pro-business, but I mean, Route 12 is like the auto mile anyway at this point. And adding more to it, I don't know, how many trucks or cars do you expect to have on site at a given time?
So I can direct that to the applicant.
You go ahead.
They're here with us tonight.
We own 5 trucks.
State your name for the record.
Johnny Escalades. We own 5 trucks, 3 go out daily. They leave at 7:30, they don't come back till 4.
Okay,
So that's,
and the storage is gonna be on that site?
yeah, the storage for the trucks, yes.
And these are.
But not a lot of cars.
These are car carriers.
The small car carriers, they're flatbed tow trucks, and then I have Dodge 3500 diesel dualies with a 3-car trailer, so it's not like a big rig that makes a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Or they're running for hours.
So we're not talking 10 truck trips a day, you will
No,
have 3
no.
vehicles.
No, we leave in
3
the
go out.
morning and we don't come back till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
We
Doesn't sound
don't,
like a lot of traffic.
There's a traffic impact statement done
Okay,
and submitted. We didn't send it out for peer review, but it's something that could be done. The
okay.
board decides.
Well, we're gonna have to continue anyway, so why don't we do that?
So are these gonna be auto carriers that are gonna be in and out? They're
They're already-
actually,
they're tow trucks.
So it's a truck, my name is Rainius Cabanas. So it's basically a truck with no bed and there's a trailer attached to it and you can put 3 cars on top. But we don't do in-town tows. We basically wanna just store our truck and trailers. We leave at 7 o'clock and we come back home, the latest is 5. They leave town, they're doing their thing and then they just come back at 5 o'clock. That's the
So
latest.
you're moving cars from dealer to dealer,
Yes.
or
Auction to dealer, from dealer to
auction to
auction.
dealer,
But
okay.
not, for Leominster dealerships, but also outside, so we're never really in
In town.
Leominster in town.
Okay,
The worst thing you can have is some cars left in your trailer maybe at night.
That's
If
if we
that's-
run into traffic,
If you're in the
it's
middle.
5
Yeah,
o'clock.
or the
and-
truck broke down or some sort of, the truck will be loaded, but other than that, they're always empty at night.
okay.
And the trucks are not like 9-car haulers or 12, it's small trucks.
Yeah, I'm familiar with, okay.
Yeah.
I've got a letter here from the, License Commission. James Kelly, Chair. It's addressed to, Elizabeth Wood. Dear Miss Wood, please be advised that the Leominster License Commission is not in favor of the proposed plan for the 670 Central Street site plan and special permit trucking transportation facility for reasons including but not limited to the following. The location is close proximity to a condominium complex and other residential housing. There are numerous Class 2 dealerships currently located on Central Street that have storage lots. A trucking transportation facility and storage lot at that location is not in the best interest of the city. The License Commission would like to continue to work with the planning board to ensure compliance with existing storage lots and auto repair shops. The dealerships before approving any new trucking transportation facilities and storage lots. Okay. I just wanted to read that into the record. We have a new ordinance in the city, just to let you know, is where we deal with storage lots, where the trucks would be picking up cars from wherever, but bring them in and storing them overnight or for weeks or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then eventually shipping them out, or we're not sure what, and we've had a number of issues with that. So I wanted to, because it came from the License Commission, I wanted to read it into the record. Okay?
That's not what's being proposed though.
What's that?
That's not what you're right.
No, that's why,
And maybe he doesn't even know that.
Yeah, sure.
He just sees transportation and we
Which
got
is-
that issue.
Which is normal. I see it all the time. People, they bring the cars, leave them there, and they wait a month or 2 for another shipper.
Oh,
So that's the type of business we
sometimes
do.
it's 40 to 50
Yeah,
on each lot, so that's not an
Yeah,
issue.
and
Yeah.
trucks.
So you're not gonna have that.
No.
But see, I had to, because it came to, I had to read it into the record.
Yeah.
And I also explained that there is a difference.
Yeah,
Okay,
Because our customers buy the car, they want the car, the fastest you get it to them, the faster they need it.
We do wholesale, we don't do like retail, like in-town towing, so the wholesalers, they're buying 10, 15 cars each customer, so we can't store them, we have to just keep growing.
Understood.
okay.
If not, I get yelled
We
at.
just don't wanna see 100 cars out back.
No. I don't wanna see 100 cars either.
There are a few lines.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the license commission letter, so I'm kinda glad they said that.
Yeah.
But, and it's not this applicant's fault, but there is an issue in the city. You can look at 3 spots on Lancaster, on Central Street right now, that there's no enforcement. You know, and the amount of cars that were probably approved by this board aren't being enforced. So if you went and counted the cars that are in a particular lot, I can give you 3 addresses right now, because I've counted them.
They're not on the agenda, so don't.
I'm sorry?
Just further, you could, but they're not on the agenda tonight, so don't give us.
I just said that it didn't apply to the applicant. And I'm not talking about the address, I'm making a
Yeah,
point
make that a point.
that follows up on what the license commission just said. Because there is an issue in the city, whether anybody wants to see it or not. So,
Well, we're in the process of addressing that,
As a matter of fact.
He's not in here for
but that's a different,
But-
I don't know what the process is, Elizabeth, thank you very much.
But to your point, Councilwoman, it is on the agenda for later in this meeting to discuss the zoning ordinance pertaining to the parking of unregistered vehicles. So we have been discussing it, and we'll bring it up again.
okay. Do I have any other input from the audience?
We're just scheduling that, we're not
And this will be
discussing it.
rescheduled.
It'll be in the next one.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
from the board, so the motion would be in order to continue this hearing to our next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, you get a date and time on that,
We
Elizabeth?
have October 3rd, but we do have something already at 6:30, so it would have to be after that.
What is it, I'm curious?
It's Starbucks.
Which may or may not happen. So 6:31.
What is it for?
I won't be.
Mary Matt, you won't be here
I
on the
won't
3rd?
be here.
Okay.
Okay,
So hopefully you guys will be not here.
yeah, we'll have enough.
6:31.
For the site plan, and then the special permit will also have to be.
6:30.
Right. I gotta take those individually. Okay, a motion for the public information meeting to be continued, for site plan, continue to October 3rd at 6:31. Okay, motion is in order. That motion needs a second. Move and second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Public hearing, a special permit application for 670 Central Street. This will be scheduled for October 3rd at 6:32. Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did the board? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, they voted.
Did you want me to, send that out to peer review, the traffic impact study?
Yes. Send out the, you can send that out, you gotta send that out.
I have to
This is-
collect escrow account, I have to collect escrow and then I have to.
Which one? From here? From this situation?
If the board chooses to do a peer review on the 670 Central Street
Oh, like you
project,
said, he's gotta go before the DOT,
Then this-
we're gonna have to address those things.
And you're talking about a couple of countries, that seems kind of
Yeah.
overkill for something
There's
like
2 gas stations right down the street that have hundreds of.
Yeah,
Right next to us and across the
I
street.
would say no.
I would make one comment, I would make one comment on that. We did review IT manuals, which will be the same book that the guy who does the peer review looks at. This facility is so below the threshold of those typical uses that they're gonna say, we don't know.
No doubt.
I concur.
They just give us their findings.
The DOT and DPW will get all copies of stuff. DPW actually has to file with us because we have to do work with them. So DPW will be thoroughly invested in how this process goes along from this point on.
Well, with the Department of Transportation, we can refer it to them too. And to the input as a waiver, you know, as a condition of approval.
We have to go in front of them anyway, so if you would like to have the access permit when it's been granted and issued.
Well, we can't discuss it.
Yeah, I know. I know, but I just wanna make the,
Yeah, okay,
it's all hypothetically speaking.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Motion
Okay.
to close public hearing?
What's that?
We didn't do that yet.
We're not closed.
No, we're just
Continue.
continuing.
No, continue.
Continuing.
It will continue to October third,
Thank you.
Yeah, you voted to continue.
and we motion and voted on it.
Motion to go to regular meeting then.
Okay, regular meeting,
All moved.
call to order.
Patrick Perla,
Here.
Paul Weiser, Sal Chaconi, excused, Carol Teresa, excused, Tom Kergnen,
Present.
Jason Parre,
Here.
Dean Valier,
Here.
John Souza.
Yeah. Minutes, we don't have any plans submitted, A&R for 43 Stagecoach Road, map 325, parcel 52. Okay. We've looked at this, and this has come back to us, and on the first time, the property lines were pretty straight, and they didn't account for the 130-foot width for where you're gonna put the house. It's shown on here, where he's got the 130 feet, you couldn't put the house, because only 31 feet from the, well, no, that'd be the front corner, so you're okay. I was mistaken, sorry about that. But on lots 1 and lots 2, they looked to be, they would comply. Now, on the drawing, lot 3 will also comply with a long driveway with 130 feet being way out back. The issue with lot 3 is that I've been there and I've walked it, is the easement in the front and the drainage is, I have concluded to look at it and say that their frontage is what we call illusionary. In essence, it's saying it really doesn't, you don't have 120 foot frontage, because really that easement takes away from part of that. And the second part, we know with the easement that there's a drainage, there's a brook, and the slopes and the big hole, that drops off, and I tried to estimate it, but it's probably 10 feet or more. And I didn't go back into the woods to see how far back it goes. So as we looked at this lot, we said lots 1 and 2 would comply. Lot 3, at this time, we listed as a non-buildable lot.
Can I approach?
Okay. And then, let me finish. If, later on, the owner of that property can come back and show us how that lot can be accessed feasibly, then that could be changed. Okay, no, could be. And so that, we're not saying, hey, it's not gonna happen, but at this time, because I don't have that feasibility of how that lot would be laid out, it leaves me enough doubt in my mind that the frontage is feasible frontage, or usable frontage. So with that, the one says, so that you can get moving, lots 1 and 2 would get approval, and the third lot, you would have to be surveyed, and you'd have to show how that house would sit on that lot, and how how you could access that frontage and meet the drainage calculations. At that point, you would get approval, okay? But it means a little more further work. So that's where I stand now. Okay, you may speak.
So Eric Lynn, owner, and my only question to you as far as the easement would be concerned is, do I not own in front of the easement?
I'm gonna say,
No,
I
I
don't.
did mention that frontage was being taken away by the easement, but I own in front of the easement as well.
Yeah, you
So, and I
do.
do know what you mean, but I just want to point that.
Yeah, you do own in front of the
Frontage
easement.
does meet the criteria.
The frontage is there, but the easement really takes the usage of that frontage away.
Well, there is 71 feet to one side of that easement as well,
And
so
there's
I
also,
can mention a driveway, no, there is, yes, there is.
But it is a big hole.
Yeah, no, but holes can be filled, so it's not, there is
Yeah.
engineering to be done.
but see,
to say.
with drainage easements and I'm not sure, I couldn't get back there.
I couldn't either. So I'm with you.
You know, so I couldn't, they tried, and I said, yeah, they'd have
You'll
to,
be more daring than I.
they'd send the rescue team up for me.
Yeah.
Because, I really couldn't see where it drained off, if there was a pond in there, or just what the calculator, so it was saying, yeah, 1 and 2, are workable, okay? 3 would require some further information.
Yep, so 3, I would basically generate a plot plan, which would show the engineering and the topography and any
Exactly.
wetlands or anything like that.
And then at that
looking
point, we remove the,
Elevation and room for driveway going back to
Exactly.
the building lot.
exactly, okay? And you did that, and once you do that, then
So
we
I do have one
remove the-
question for you. Would it be possible to ask for a waiver, that we could get somewhat of a variance to actually keep the house closer to the front, rather than putting it all the way in the back? And a lot does meet the criteria, but would it be
There-
possible to?
There is a method to doing that, okay? Number one, the method is that you can go to the ZBA, and the ZBA can give you a variance. Okay, so once we do that, you can go to the ZBA, what the process is you would go to the building inspector and apply for a building permit. He would then deny you a building permit because of insufficient width.
Right.
Then you would go to the ZBA, okay, with all your calculations for the variance, and the ZBA can do the same thing, they can then waiver the width, okay?
Okay.
So that's another track that you can, okay? So and because of this, okay, I'm actually looking at that 130 feet, and there may be some action we might bring up later on I cannot figure out, I did some digging, and I went back to a number of different zoning, and it's there, and I couldn't find out a reason why they opened up the width from 120 to 130 with houses. And the only thing that I can think of is when zoning was originally written, and there are little things like this in there, there were a lot of ranch houses being built. So ranch houses long and wide, and they felt that they needed more. But most of the houses being today are going, 2 stories or 3 stories, and there's more than enough room there at 120 feet. So that may be reduced to 120 in the future, but that's just something we're looking at. So you can look at it that way, say, gee, you brought it to light, and we're always looking for little things we can correct sometimes, and this might be something we could correct,
I can appreciate that.
okay?
I'm sure others can too.
So we're working on things that way also. Okay,
Okay.
so.
So we'll need to revise the plan to say
So-
that that's non-buildable until he can demonstrate what we just talked about.
Right, well, what we do is, exactly, so the motion, well, unless you guys, I don't know, anybody any other questions? Okay. The only thing I would say, the motion would be to accept the plan with lots 1 and 2, okay, as built in, lot 3 being labeled as a non-buildable lot. Okay, and that way, they can come come back at a later date and come up with a different plan. And then they don't have to deal with lot 3, and they can get started on what they're gonna do on lot 1 and 2. Okay?
Is that agreeable with you?
Absolutely. Because the next phase is to get this recorded so we can apply for a building permit for lot 1.
Right.
Okay, so moved.
Okay?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? There none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
The what?
You tearing the house down?
Hopefully this weekend. Finally got the machine fixed, so,
I thought you had already started to.
that's when the machine broke.
Oh, okay.
Great.
So I can give
Okay.
you this.
Cause I'm right around the corner from you.
Right.
Yeah, he is too. So, okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Eric, I'm gonna give this to you so that you can bring me back a revised plan.
So
You
you,
don't have to make another trip to develop this.
I want lot 3 just to be labeled as
non-buildable lot.
That's the only thing we're gonna add.
That's it?
Some words.
That's it, don't worry.
And then you'll come back when you have everything.
Yeah, come back with another Mylar.
Yeah, that Mylar,
Am I
have to.
resubmitting or am I just creating another Mylar?
No. You're creating another Mylar.
Yeah, just resubmit.
Just, and give it to us and we'll sign it.
Yeah, and my memo is gonna direct you what to do. It's gonna tell you that you need to label lot 3 non-buildable.
And
That's all.
3 copies of it.
Three Mylars or just one?
One Mylar,
One
3
and
copies.
then the 3 copies?
Yes, please.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, 3.2, site plan application for Research Drive, map 503, parcel 3-12, lot 10, warehouse. To be scheduled.
This is a 30,000 square foot warehouse with 41 parking spaces. And, you have October 3rd open.
So October 3rd at 6:35.
Well,
You have
let's be realistic.
Seems realistic.
6:40.
6:40?
Yeah, 6:40.
Okay. Motion is October 3rd at 6:40.
Second.
Yeah. I think so. Motion is for October 3rd at 6:40.
Second by Pat.
Second motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. 3.3, site plan application for 115 Willard Street, map 318, parcel 1, trucking terminal.
Not a truck.
It's another trucking terminal. Okay, that's gonna be
Willard
scheduled.
Street.
Yep. This is the ABC tire,
Yeah,
You mean?
A and B.
A&B tire, not ABC. A&B tire.
That building.
Yeah, they're gonna modify that building somehow.
All right.
No, Wood Street?
We're on Willard Street,
115 Willard.
115, right on the right-hand side.
Be tired, yeah.
Yeah, it's
They have like a warehouse.
It's their warehouse. It's for commercial
On the
trucks.
other
So-
side of 117.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
take a right at the,
Willard and Lancaster.
Willard and Lancaster.
and
Take
it's
a
right
right,
there.
and it's on your right-hand side. And mostly truck tires and tractor trailer tires. It's not, it's a commercial.
So we still staying with 10-3?
No, we've gotta advertise this one because it's got a
And so is
special.
10-17 is the next
10-17.
one?
Yeah,
6:30, I assume? 10-17 at 6:30?
Second.
For this, for
Motion
the
made
site
and
plan.
seconded for 10-17 at 6:30. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion
And
carries.
then I move we schedule a special permit application for 115 Willard Street for 6:31 on 10-17.
Second.
Motion made and seconded for the special use application for 115 Willard Street at 6:31. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say none. Motion carries. Definitive subdivision for Pierce Street, map 575, parcel 1. Okay, motion would be in order to accept it with conditions as submitted by, and then we have to go through the waivers.
Yeah.
Well, do the waivers first. Yeah, let's go through the waivers first. We have to vote each waiver individually, and then we go from there.
And you have the sheet in front of you with the list. The only one not on the list is the 9R9 with 12 or more lots.
Okay. The waivers are, and then we'll take these individually. Section 8, development impact statement shall be prepared. Their comment on this was is the small project and development impact statement is not required. Motion, I need motions for each one of these.
I move to grant that waiver.
My second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Here none, call for vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Okay. Okay.
8-2.
That's for okay. Peters Street subdivision. Subdivision doesn't have a name, so. Do you have a name for the subdivision? No? Okay. We'll just call it the Pierce Street subdivision. Okay, section 8.2.A.4. The scale should be 1.4 horizontal. Waiver required.
Elizabeth, you're okay with this? It's actually probably clear.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, then I move to grant this waiver.
Second.
Okay. A waiver has been granted for Pierce Street for the scale of 1 to 40. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Section 8.2.E.1.E. Finished invert elevations for storm drains and sanitary sewers at 50-foot intervals. This has been okayed by the DPW. Motion is in order
Motion
for Pierce Street.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Here none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Section 9.M.1.2, Cul-De-Sac Plantings. Okay, this is removes the cul-de-sac.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, for Pierce Street, the cul-de-sac plantings have been removed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both say no. Motion carries. Section 9.R.1.8.3.C, dead-end streets shall be no longer than 500 feet unless an option of the board, a greater length than necessary by topography or other locations. For Pierce Street, this is due to topography, the length has been,
Extended to 12.
to over 12. We usually put in the length.
1,200 feet.
And what is the length? 1,200 feet? So let's make it continued to 1,200 feet.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept for Pierce Street a length of 1,200 feet. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Section 9.R.14.S.6, an open space buffer area of 20 feet.
Give one.
Sorry, you skipped 9R,
Okay,
12A.
we'll do this and then we'll come back.
Oh, sorry about that. Hey, I'm old, so.
You can do that.
Section 9.R.12A, travel way 34 feet. we have in close, we traditionally use 28 feet. So
So,
waivers, for Pier Street, the road shall be 28 feet. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, motion carries. Section 9.R.14.S.6, an open space buffer of 20 feet shall abut all adjacent properties to the subdivision. In most cases, I think it exceeds this. So waiver is in order for Pier Street. So,
Yep,
I have a motion made and seconded, any discussion? Here none, I'll call for a vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Then we have one added one, is for,
of the state.
the,
The two entrances.
the second exit.
And will you clarify as to whether or not you're allowing 12 or whether or not you're allowing 13, because,
No, it's 12,
It's 12.
the 13th one is an A and R.
so,
But
okay.
if they're gonna do the
But the
waiver
but the
anyway,
But it's wavering anyway, so
That's
it's
why
not
I
gonna
wanted,
make any difference.
that's why I wanted a clarification as to what the.
Yeah,
but why wouldn't you just?
Why wouldn't you just do 13?
Doing the waiver. The reason to avoid the waiver was the 13th.
it's up to them, I mean, it doesn't
I
make,
thought that was.
13, I think the right of the way, the address for 13 would probably be Pier Street, won't it?
Yeah, you probably build that one first, yeah.
Okay,
So do you have a preference?
so that first one would be on Pier Street, the other ones would be on the new road, whatever the new road is.
want to just put the
What
waiver in
was the,
13?
what was the original
So we
reason?
put the waiver in for 13, doesn't make any difference to me.
These are
What was the
If they wanna
original
change
reason for
it.
breaking off the 13?
Because they thought it
Because
was
they thought
12.
12 and over.
They thought 12 and over was the,
Was it actually over 12, it's 12, 13, we'll just waive it.
It's gonna be the same
Just has to
anyway,
come
so
back.
why do an extra?
Is it, was there an additional, was there anything in addition to the two entrances that required it to be less than 13?
no,
Alright then.
no.
Enough.
The second entrance would require going over to Master Law.
Go back into the area.
Yeah, they don't have to go back in.
I'm gonna go the other section.
So we're approved for 13. So a motion is made and seconded to approve this, as a waiver, for 13 lots.
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Here none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, motion carries. Okay,
Paul stated no.
I'm still.
for the subdivision with waivers, we got it to conditions. Okay, we have a number of conditions by, the department heads. We can just take those in block as to accept all conditions from
Outstanding conditions.
Outstanding-
All
outstanding conditions from different
And
departments.
just, what's the one amendment?
Boundary markers?
Well, that's a separate,
And the, they do something with the.
yeah, that'd be separate. First, we take the subdivision
What's the one we do?
from
And then do something with the.
the department heads.
File.
Motion would be in order to accept conditions from the department heads to be accepted.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded,
Second.
motion carries. Now, a motion on,
We're gonna vote?
Yeah, roll.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well said, I'm sorry. I try to think, yeah. I know how difficult that is. Okay, now, we had, on the mark, the condition that we had the two markers,
They have to give her.
the boundary markers. What else did I have?
There was two boundary markers, and were we gonna,
Oh, there was the traffic study, well, that's,
The
that was
police
the,
comments were included as part of the.
that was all included. So I think the only other thing was the boundary
boundary
markers.
markers? So moved.
A motion made and seconded that two boundary markers be made on the
Easterly side?
easterly side of the property.
Is that the easterly side was?
I think it's east to me.
It's the only side of the
The right side,
Southerly side.
southerly side.
Southerly side of the boundary.
Alright.
Any discussion?
No.
Here now, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
John, do we need to add anything specific in regards to applying for the street acceptance before the however we were doing
No.
that in regards to?
What the procedure is that we will take in, as in the book, in the subdivision regulations, we would take possession of the deeds for the property.
It's part of the process.
That's part of the process.
Fantastic.
They will do the infrastructure, the roads, the drainage, the base coat on the road, and laying out sidewalks and stuff like that, okay? Once that is done, then they would come back to us and say, okay, I wanna have release of a covenant, what we call the hold on the property is a covenant. So we said, I wanna release lots 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so at that point, we would release 1, 2, and 3. If they come back to us and say, okay, we wanna release 5, 7. But then when they get to the last, they'd say 2. They would say, we would hold those, and at that point, we would do an engineering study, like to find out what is left to be done on the roadway, and at that point, we would determine a bond. And when we determine that bond, at that point, we'd get a cash bond, we'd release the covenants on the last couple of lots, they would build, and then when they get the rest of the work done, or if they didn't get done, we'd exercise the bond to finish the project.
So it's part of the process now.
Okay, so part of the process.
Awesome.
And we have to include those that verifies all this before the certificate of occupancy.
No, that's part of the
That was-
subdivision, that's all part of the subdivision regulations, okay? Let's put it this way, what we're doing here is ordinance. Okay, these are all controlled by city ordinances.
Okay.
When you get into the actual building of the project, that's when your subdivision comes in play. And that's really your width of your road, your depth of your road, your material in your road, the sidewalk width, trees and all the rest of that stuff.
Okay.
Okay? So, is there anything else anybody wishes to comment on? So a motion would be in order to accept a Pierce Street project, okay, with conditions and waivers, conditions and waivers.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you. Finally.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, new business. Site plan application for 6-7 Central Street, map 582, parcel 18 trucking transportation building. This has been continued. Special permit application 670 Central Street has been continued. Communication. City Council petition 6.123 read to amend zoning ordinance pertaining to the parking of unregistered vehicles. Planning board to schedule this for a public hearing. Needs to be a schedule,
We've got October 17th open.
October 17th.
We have to advertise, so that'll be the next.
So that'd be at 6:40.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to schedule this for October 17th at 6:40. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both say no, motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Okay,
New business, both of them.
now I got the old agenda. We got a new agenda.
I have two.
You want one?
Both say the same thing, hold on, 616, 263.
Oh.
Yours?
I added some.
Yeah.
Now I do.
John, you got it or you need it?
I found it. Okay. 6.2, zoning amendment, read. Amend the required lot size for residence A zoning lot for lot size 17,780 square feet. 37,780 square feet. Plan board review and advise director petition city council.
And you have
What-
in front of you a proposal of written.
And you have a proposal,
from
okay?
Chairman.
What their proposal is I looked at a lot of houses and this has come up several times. We have a housing shortage. And it's, lots of harder to get houses in here. we've had a number of people, they're in residential A, and they have an acre and a quarter, acre and 3/4, they got, you know, sometimes more than, at least 37,000. You only need 21,000 for residential A. What I'm recommending is that we allow a person, this is for current lots, so somebody couldn't come in and create subdivisions on this. If you had a current lot that had at least 37,000 square feet, okay, you could subtract out 16,000 off of that and create a new lot, long as you could meet the frontage and all other regulations in residential A. And where I'm coming from this, and Tommy can vouch this for me, his house, my house, and a lot of houses, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, now we passed the open space regulation for residential A. In that subdivision regulation, we only require a 12,500 square foot lot. We have at least 6 or 7 subdivisions in the city that have a couple of hundred houses anyway, in total. They're all on these smaller lots. And I think they're very acceptable and nice subdivisions. And they've worked out to be very nice. So the precept of keeping, having larger lots and utilizing this way, if somebody is about to retire, they have a large lot, or if they just they've got that big lot and they can subdivide it, they can put another house on it. And this will give us, the city, a little bit more land, but not big subdivisions. There's gonna be here, one there, around the town. So it'll open up some space for some new homes in the city. So primarily, that is what that's what this would do, will allow somebody to do that.
We're gonna have a team of mediators to deal with the neighborly disputes that are going to arise from this.
Well, and the other thing,
They're gonna have to come in.
and by the way, and part of that,
It'll be notified.
it's also, I put it in
They'll be
there,
notified with a special permit.
okay, and that this requires a special permit. So not just a site, not just go to the building inspector, it requires a special permit. So they would have to come to us for the permit to do that,
Each one of them. So, we control it.
okay? Any discussion, it's an idea, I've seen it, we've run into it in a couple of places. And looking at the assessors map the other day, and I found quite a few lots that are like that, where people could subdivide one time.
What is quite a few?
I couldn't get a count, I found 10 or 15 without looking too hard, but I bet you there are quite a few more. Especially where you get, and there are a lot of funny lots in the city,
It's gonna be the same setbacks too?
Same setback, same side, everything else.
One per lot.
One, that's it, they couldn't do a subdivision like that.
But it needs road frontage too.
They need the frontage, everything else is the same, they still need the road, they
So
still
would
need the road
apply to
frontage,
all other ordinances,
everything else, right.
but this allows for a one-time breaking off of a single 16,000 square foot lot if you have 38,000.
Do this, something like
Right.
a big lot to the side of it, this guy front, they can put another house there.
Now, would they come through as an A&R and a special permit at the same time to do this?
They probably would.
Yeah, probably, yeah, you would have to do that.
How is this different from an existing buildable smaller lot? Is this a difference
You
between
can't.
residential A and residential B?
Residential A is 21,000 and change, okay? Residential B is 12,000.
So they're already meeting residential A because they have 21,000 plus.
Plus. Exactly.
What?
Do
And
we-
they still have to
do we
have 21,000.
Do we have a residential zone currently that allows for 16,000 square feet?
No.
12,000 square feet that you mentioned before?
No, we did, yeah, that 12,000 is in the, but that's open space. That's an open space regulation. And in order to get to 12,000, you have to, well, see, how we get to open space is the original grid was half acre lots. So they had to say, if they had enough room for 50 houses.
So
They had to show a grid,
X
roads
numbers
for
of
50
12,000
houses.
square foot lots plus some open space.
Exactly. So then we changed it, said, once you show the grid, so now you can take those 20 house lots, and rather than put it on 100 acres, you can put it on 50 acres, but the balance of the 50 acres is open space, and stays as open space in perpetuity.
Okay, so
Okay.
now someone's got a 38,000 square foot lot. Maybe they've got double that, triple that.
They could have triple, but they only can do it one time for 21,000.
So they've got 80,000 square feet and then they break it off into 40. And of that 40, they break off 16, and of the other 40, they break off 16.
And why couldn't they do?
Are we allowing that?
We could,
Because we're not saying they can't, right? One
No,
time,
they
you can
don't.
break 16 off that 40 and you can.
Well,
break
see,
something
yeah,
off
I didn't, if somebody had, but see, then you're getting into it. You all have to have frontage on the road.
Right, yeah, they have to comply to all of the regulations.
See, so I didn't find any lots where you had
That's a good.
500 or 600, but yeah,
They're gonna have to be able to fit them in
That's
their
what we're subdividing, right?
addresses too.
The lot frontage on
Not
residential
gonna
A
change
is
everybody's
80.
address.
yeah, one friend, they still have to have 80, they would have
You
to
have
have 80
100,
feet.
you have 100,
Sorry.
oh, the lot width is 100.
So John,
I'm trying to see where your table of dimensional regulations,
Oh,
you have the 1,600 feet, that's the lot size. You have the maximum impervious coverage, that's none. 100 would be the, 80 would be the frontage, and then 100 would be the width,
yeah,
and then the side yard, and then the front yard, and then the rear yard, and then the height, and then the stories. So we just need to add that in there, the 80, number
Yeah.
80.
So John, why couldn't I do this as an A&R now? Why do I need this change?
Because an
Yeah.
A&R requires,
and it would be, it's not a, it would require a 21,000 square foot lot,
Instead of the 16?
rather than 16. You give them a break of 5,000.
Okay.
Okay, an A&R would require the 21, you'd have to have the half acre.
So what we're doing, we're making a.
What we're doing is making a proposal to the city council.
And if I had a property where I wanted to do two 16,000s, I can't do that?
You can't do that.
But you gotta have the 37,000 to start with. You can break 16.
Yeah, minimum of 37,000, yeah,
It gives you 20.
right.
Okay, genius. Sounds good to me.
I mean, this will go to the city council.
Yeah.
And if they wanna make, they accept it, no, they can make it, they can amend it or change it, and what it is they recommend it.
Okay.
Council, you wanna make any comment?
Yeah, what would happen to a non-conforming lot? Would they become conforming?
You may,
You had a 20,000 square foot lot, right now it's non-conforming. But if you change that,
Only if it's abutted by another bigger lot that they have.
they would have to have a bigger lot. They have to have 37,000.
We're not gonna let a person who only has a 20,000 square foot lot go down to 16. You know what I'm saying? So they have to have a lot, obviously with a house on it, or,
Yeah.
and then they have
yeah,
an
but you're making two lots now that are below the required.
No, just
one
one.
lot, just one.
no, one
The
will
first
have
lot
one-
has to maintain the 21,000.
21,000. That's why
Right,
I say
okay,
it
so
needs 30.
one's gonna be an exception.
Right.
One would be an exception.
What about when somebody purchases the lot?
What's that?
Right, so now just one person owns it. What would
Yeah, so
formally be a non-conforming?
No, they could, that creates a new lot, they could sell it, they could, I think of that.
That's
So
what I
right
mean.
now,
That's all they can do on it is one house, and they have to,
Right.
But how is that lot, once you subdivide it and it becomes another lot, how is that a conforming lot?
it's not.
If
It is
it's
under-
separated from the other lot now?
And just have a
Well, it is,
asterisk.
It's
under
gonna be
this
in the
ordinance.
dimensional chart, it's gonna be in the dimensional chart, it's gonna be under RA special in the dimensional chart, at 1,600 square feet.
I know, but if you're taking
16,000.
one and you have to maintain 21,000 square feet on the first one,
Right,
Your neighbor
and the
does.
second one, and you're saying you can sell it,
that's right.
So now your neighbor.
so
owns
down the
16.
road, that's a non-conforming lot?
It's become a conforming lot, it's an
approved.
RA special.
I don't know how you can do that.
Yeah, we can do it.
Oh,
You better approve it.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to, you know, what we creating, I'm trying to, you know, just like anything else, I hear it time and time again, people are looking for lots, they're looking to
I
build.
don't disagree with the concept, and
Okay.
you're doing it, I just don't know if legally you could.
Yeah, well, the city council, we can. All we can do is, you can create, this becomes this is a new subdivision, this new area, this is RA special.
So
Or whatever you
it's an
want.
A&R, really.
Right.
See, do you wanna see the chart?
Alright, what are we gonna do?
So, well, it's up to us to make a recommendation
Make a recommendation, and the recommendation would be to send it to the city council
It goes to the city
for
council.
review.
But
Yeah.
you got the situation now with lots, it's a state law, that if you got, years ago, and you probably remember, years ago, somebody had a lot, a budding lot next to their property, and now it's non-conforming. Cause I've had this issue before, just doing appraisals. If they didn't separate, they had a time frame when the law changed on the state. They had a time frame where they could take that piece of land and put it in someone else's name. So that they
That's right.
could apply as a non-conforming lot. If they kept it with their house, when it's sold, they couldn't separate it.
That's correct.
They had to go and make a bigger lot with the existing property.
Oh, with that, you can.
Huh?
With this ordinance, you will be able to do
Well, I'm saying, I think that's a state law.
Maybe.
that.
No, you're creating a new lot, okay? See, what you're saying is that lot, we had a number of those, they were like 8,000, they're 10,000, they're small, okay? And if you sold the lot and went in another name, that became a separate lot,
Right.
okay? Grandfathered, smaller size, we had some of those on Mary Avenue that we approved a few years ago, okay?
It was unfortunate, because a lot of people kept that lot so that their kids could build houses, not knowing that they had to separate that lot, take it out of their name,
That's right.
so that could happen, and
But once the state passed that law, the two lots became one, if they were under one name,
yeah,
they became one, and then there's nothing we can do with that.
Yeah.
Now, if that happened to be too big, if they ended up with more than 37,000 square feet, okay, they could, now with this ordinance, they could subdivide that. See, cause every city in town can create their own sizes, for acceptable lots. Okay?
There's no state law.
No, I'm not sure what the state law is, but some towns have 3 acres. Some towns have 10,000 square feet, you know? It's ridiculous.
5,000 square feet.
Florida's,
changed it a couple times in the water protection district.
Yeah, well, what-
3 to 2,
yeah,
I mean,
and the water, but like if, you just mentioned Florida. In Florida, it's only 15 feet between houses.
I know.
That's all they require, Sarasota County. Okay, and you house,
Fire code.
and that's, like you said, that's fire code. That's 15 feet, and that's it. So,
John, before it goes to city council, do you want Elizabeth to check with KP just to see if there's any legal concerns with it, or would you rather send to city council first?
well, we can send it to city council, let them go to KP. It's gonna go there anyway,
Okay.
you know? It's gonna end up with KP log anyway, cause they gotta verify it. So,
Okay, so proposal to, send this suggestion, this proposed ordinance to the city council for further review?
yes. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Then I'll call for the vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Petition,
carries.
it's a petition to city council, right?
Yes.
You didn't just.
Proposed ordinance change.
Yeah. Now, as I mentioned earlier, zoning ordinance amend required lot width on rural residents. Going to review, okay?
Yeah, I have to
Try
read
to
it
do
out.
the same thing.
Well, this is a little bit different. The other thing I'm doing here is, I can't, we already got
You get enough?
120 foot
So you're
frontage.
talking about the 120, 130 thing?
Yeah, 120, 130, just make it 120. 120 is more than enough. And the extra 10 feet, it's an encumbrance. And, I couldn't find a good reason for it. You're already rural residential, you already got an acre of land.
Well, then if you have a big parcel, you gotta start doing hourglass
Oh, and you end up with
configurations, because
crazy.
you gotta open it up.
Oh, yeah, just like if you looked at the drawing we had tonight, you had to come up with a weird configuration.
I don't know.
What's that?
I don't know how he's up there. Right.
Well, that third one, but he's got two anyway, and they can go. So, they're just like we saw today, so I said, I couldn't find where it made any sense for the 130. And at the time, and I asked Elizabeth about it, and she didn't have any, why it
Probably
would
a
be.
typo. To begin with.
But as far as the back of the books I got, it's been a 130 for a long, long,
Oh, yeah,
long
you
time.
put it in there once and
That's it.
Yeah, who knows why? I don't know what the reason was at the time. So, because at one time, they were putting lots in and we were trying to restrict housing. But that's not the case today. I mean, you're still restricting. And you're not changing the size of the lot. The only thing is you're eliminating is the changing is that 130 width to back to just the 120, so it's only 10 feet. So, that's that second
So what do you
motion.
need here for that?
Same thing, a motion to the city council
Petition.
So
for a petition. Not to petition the city council for a
I will
change.
second that.
I have a motion made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So, while we're talking about proposed zoning amendments, it's not on the agenda, is it? I don't know if it's okay for me to bring it up here, or if I should get it on a future meeting. Should we be talking about a zoning amendment about cul-de-sac plantings? And a
Yeah.
zoning amendment about the width of traveled ways?
Yeah, I'd really like you to.
I think, I'd like, I don't have
Do
a
you wanna
problem
work
with
with
that.
me and come up
Why
with?
don't we put something together,
If they're the driver behind it,
yeah,
rather than us do it, let's ask the DPW what they're telling people not to follow.
Well, I couldn't help but reflect on the fact that the police department and the neighbors were complaining about traffic being too fast, and the roads are not wide enough.
Right.
Wider roads mean faster traffic, and they want to slow traffic.
Good point.
right.
So let's just narrow the roads.
That's fine with me, but I get my larger concern before is such. If whatever our zoning rules are, all the departments should agree we're gonna follow them. And if there are departments who are telling people we don't wanna follow the rules, then we should re-examine the rules.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a great point.
So I would consult with the DPW, besides the plantings and the width of the road, see if there are other things that
Okay.
they should.
That, the
We
thing
already
on
discussed
the,
it with the roads, you wanna keep them at 34 because in some cases.
so the 34,
That
some
one I
cases,
understand your reasoning for that, so maybe.
The 34
that's not
stays.
what we're looking at.
I wouldn't change the 34.
I
Okay,
would propose that we change 34.
no, you can't, you see, because if you have, in the future, we know that there are some lots, and if this got many more than 12 houses, okay, I probably want a larger width, because you run into more traffic. So if you get, and we did that on Willard Street, the opening.
My road's 28, there's 40 houses there.
Yeah, I know, but but your house, yours was done because it's open space.
So,
open space.
so by
Mine's
your,
probably 34 and the
There's still
guy
40
plows
houses.
10 feet off my driveway when he plows my road, so I got a shovel for an extra 45
Yeah, that guy doesn't know it's 34.
So,
so because there's more houses, the road needs to be wider because
More
there's
traffic.
gonna be more traffic. And then when that traffic is moving faster on that road because it's wider, and the homeowners are complaining that people are driving too fast,
And the police are.
they're gonna want narrower roads.
Well, where that 34 comes from is from national,
The Bible.
is the Bible.
great.
Sure.
Okay, so that's where
Yeah,
that,
because
that That's pretty much across the
We can
board.
make waivers where we want, but leave it at 30.
The planting should be a
New Testament.
But the planting,
safety issue.
I'll tell you where the plantings came up is when we did that subdivision, and there was a lot of discussion when we went to the open space. And when we went to the open space, there were some people that had problems with big open cul-de-sacs, because it ended up with all the kids congregating on the big open cul-de-sac and playing, riding their bikes and all that.
Well, they do it 28 too.
But I mean,
Well, they're all gone.
but they,
It's
you
probably
know,
welcome.
but I've seen both. I've seen
At this point.
somewhere, you had the open, you could go to, was it, Rosewood, okay, off of Lawrence Street, and, oh no, Daisy, off of Lawrence Street, and it's a big wide open cul-de-sac, okay? Where if you go over to, Bridle Cross, okay, it's, there is in Saddlebred.
And there's an island in the middle and only one person takes the other one in front of mine.
Yeah, and in some cases, people get together, when my son is, they get together and the neighbors all get together and they have a party there every year. So, on his, no,
Mulch it,
yeah, so the city is not gonna take care of it, and that's what we was.
Yeah, just,
That's what I put a row on it.
I'll email you and you can tell me which one.
And let's move on.
Director's report, none?
In front of you, at the very back of your packet was the list of topics for the Citizens Planning Training Collaborative. I don't know if any of these are priority for you or not, but if they are, I need to know which ones you're interested in so that I can refer that back to the folks at the CPTC so that they can have the classes that are relevant.
Who's online?
I don't know, they might be in person this year. I haven't heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, are there any topics that you want me to tell them that you want?
Well, we look at it and we'll get back to you.
Okay, well, if you look at it, email me and let me know. Otherwise, I'll just tell them that I won't get back to them and
Yeah,
I'll tell them that we're no preference.
okay,
Thank you.
That's all I had.
okay, motion is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, motion carries.